Presented by Tri-State Audi. Visit your Tri-State area Audi dealer today. Game 2, Knicks and the Cavs. Every Knicks starter in double figures. Mikal Bridges solid again with 19 points. You want to dare Josh Hart to shoot? Okay. Career playoff high, 26 points, 5 of 11 from downtown. Jalen Brunson, 19, and a career playoff high, 14 assists. Fans outside, the watch party loving it. Knicks win 109-93, now up 2-0. Great to have you with us here from our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pito along with Steve Novak and Wally Zerbiak. A little bit shaky maybe in the first half, but again in the second half, Steve, the Knicks poured it on. We'll talk about the third quarter, but the Knicks dominated the last 2 quarters, and now they have a dominating lead in the series.
They do, and you can just tell they built off that momentum that they created last game. It was just so big to see that turnaround late in game 1, and you were so curious to see what was the carryover going to be. Was it going to be Cleveland coming out, responding, making something happen, and making that lead disappear? Or was it going to be a team that you just played in another 2 7-game series in a row, wearing down in game 2? And I think we saw that in some big-time playmaking from an entire group.
It was fun to watch, and the backbone of this team is their defense. I mean, locking down a Cleveland team that's a very good offensive team with stars like Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, they're forcing them into playing a lot of one-on-one. That ball is not moving around as much as it normally does. They're not giving those shooters as many open shots. Strus and Merrill combined to shoot 2 for 15. Yeah. Cleveland's not going to win when their shooters are not spacing the floor for their playmakers like Donovan and James Harden. So overall, that was a big-time win for the Knicks. I thought they were going to come out and play like themselves today. They sure did, and they got a commanding 2-0 lead.
Great balance for the Knicks in that starting 5, including KAT, who went for 18 points and 13 rebounds. He's standing by now with Alan Hahn.
All right, thank you, Bill. Well, KAT, first and foremost, you're up 2-0 now in the series. 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. Where is this team right now when it comes to realizing how far you've come? This is 9 straight wins in the playoffs.
We're hungry. We're hungry. You know, this game's done, and now we're looking forward to the next one. You know, that's what the mentality of this team is. So it's great to enjoy this moment. The fans, we appreciate y'all. Y'all came out. Y'all showed energy. That love, that New York grit is all because of y'all. But we got to move on to the next one. The next one's the most important game of the year.
One of the best traits about this team is how selfless everybody is. Throughout the season, we've seen different players, yourself included, be selfless. When the game is not your game, do other things. Josh Hart talked about that in game 1. And in this game, he kept shooting. He trusted the shot. They were letting him shoot. How do you feel about the performance that he put on in this game with them leaving him open?
I mean, he's special, man. He does all the things that we need to win. He impacts winning at the highest level. And you talk about selfless. This team, selfless, the traits, that mentality. Honestly, I contributed to the man behind you in John Calipari, man, for real. That's the man who taught me that trait at the highest level.
All right, well, I have to ask you about yourself and your performance because you had a double-double. And since the 4th quarter of game 1, you have been a monster on the boards. When you think about your impact on this series, how big of an impact is your rebounding?
I mean, I think it's everything. They got 2 very talented bigs, in my opinion, some of the best bigs in the world. So you got to go out there, you got to compete, and impact winning. I always talk about impact and winning. That's all I want to do for this team, this city. And I think every quarter is a new story. You know, maybe in the first second I got to be very aggressive scoring, and then as the game goes along, maybe my teammates like Josh Hart, Jalen in the 4th, Mr. Clutch. You know, and my job is then to get the rebounds, get the stops, play that defense that's needed to win the game.
On to Cleveland. Congratulations, KAT. Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it.
Back to you, Bill.
All right, Alan, big plays presented by 4-Leaf Credit Union. Guys, KAT, the 18 points, only needed 12 shots, and Steve, he made 3 threes.
He made 3 threes, but I think what you've heard from him all year, and you just heard with him talking to Alan right there, is how does he impact winning? We've seen him facilitate. We've seen him crash the glass, be one of the best rebounders in the league all year. And obviously, when he gets in his bag and he's knocking down threes and scoring the ball, he's at his best. But you just got to love how he lets the game come to him, and his ability to stretch the floor and knock down big threes in this game, I thought, was what put it over the top tonight.
Yeah, and for a guy who's been an all-star 6, 7 times, whatever it is, he plays very unselfishly. I mean, he doesn't hunt shots. He plays the right way. He plays within the offense. He loves making his teammates better. That's the bottom line. Superstars make each other better. He made some big key back-breaking shots when, Cleveland plays some good defensive possessions. Then all of a sudden there's one on the shot clock and you just throw it out to your 7-footer and he drills a 3 from the corner. I mean, that demoralizes the Cavs team. That demoralizes an opponent. So the talent level that he has is just unbelievable at a guy his size, and he's showing it in these playoffs. He's playing some of his best basketball.
Now, you're talking about a potential carryover from game one. The Cavs led, guys, after the first quarter. And at the half, the Knicks were only up by 4. But overall here, the Cleveland three-point shooting, 9 of 35.
Yeah.
And Sam Merrill in that first half, of course, he missed a heartbreaker that would have won the game in game one at the buzzer. He was like 1 for 6 in the first half from 3. If Cleveland, Steve, and we were talking about watching the game, if they hit some of those open threes, maybe it's a different game, but they couldn't hit anything.
Yeah, no, and I think it was absolutely what changed the game. I think if you think about it, if they made some of just those open looks in that first half, it would have been a different game.
Yeah.
Because you just know when a team is coming out and they're trying to respond. If you have the court spread and you have Donovan Mitchell going down the middle and you have Harden comfortable, you've got Strus, you've got Mobley, you've got guys like Merrill who didn't make a 3 in this game and, like you said, missed a heartbreaker. So the question is for a guy like Merrill, he had a heartbreaker of a shot. The team had a heartbreaker of a game. What were they going to do? How are they going to respond? Now they lost this game. Merrill had an 0 for 7 shooting
From 3,
night.
yes.
And I think that's very telling that they've actually dug a bigger hole. And you got to give this Knicks team a lot of credit for putting them in that hole.
All right, so it's a 4-point game at the half. Third quarter of boom.
Yes.
For the Knicks. 18-0 run, Wally. 53 all, became 71-53 in favor of the Knicks. They went up by 18 points.
Total opposite of game one, because in game one, that's when the Cavs took control of this game, of the game. But in this one, the Knicks came out focused out of the locker room. They really did. Josh Hart just taking advantage of the game plan, which was to dare him to score and shoot, and boy, did he totally dispel that notion. And I don't know what the Cavs are going to do, because you can't leave that guy open like that. He is going to absolutely make you pay. He was the Knicks' leading scorer tonight. I mean, he just continued to shoot, continued to attack. Jalen Brunson with 14 assists. I want to know how many of those assists went to his roommate, Josh Hart. And Josh Hart led the team with 26. Nobody else in the 20s. That's how unselfishly this team plays. They were just making the right play. And that's all coaching. I mean, this coaching staff has this Knicks team just playing selfless, just team basketball personified.
And guys, that was tonight's thrilling moment, brought to you by FanDuel Casino. Get your thrill on as the Knicks are able to dominate the third quarter and go on to win 109-93. You see the numbers. I mentioned the three-point shooting. Steve, how about the free throws? Cavs killed themselves at the line, too. 22 of 32. You see the rest of the numbers. But when you really boil it down, the Cavs just did not shoot well enough to contend in this game.
No, and I think you hear so often that it's a make-or-miss league. And you think, what does that even mean? Of course it's a make-or-miss league. You got to make shots. But this is when I think you can really see it. There are open shots. Merrill had open shots. Strus had open shots. Mobley had open looks. Those guys missed open shots. Not great defense by the Knicks every possession. Sometimes you say, way to contest, way to really make it a tough shot. We're talking about free throws. We're talking about the open three-point shots that this Cavs team missed, because if they made those early in the first half, I think you're talking about maybe a 10 or 12-point lead for the Cavs at half. And instead, that wasn't the case. They never were able to get it going. And I think now, as we think and talk more about how quick of a turnaround this was for Cleveland, now we're 2 games into this series.
They look tired.
They look a little bit tired.
Yeah.
Those legs look a little heavy. The shots aren't going down, and there's a big, big burden on guys like Harden and others to attack and to step up around Mitchell.
And guys, we're going to talk about Josh Hart. I mean, basically not playing in game one because he wasn't able to shoot, and he was on fire tonight. We're going to talk about that, just getting started here on our extended post-game coverage. The New York Knicks Plaza.